Well, here's round two on the topic of frustrating our children. I was thinking about a few other things that were helpful to me in raising my kids. I was super introverted as a child. I never felt like growing up, even all the way through high school, that I was the one who developed a comfort level in my skin or a comfort level in my activities to just go be confident and have a great time. It just seemed like that did not develop until I became a parent, really. Around 27, 28, when I began to realize I'm training someone else, I thought, I want to be confident. I want to teach my kids to be confident. And I began to explore, what does that look like? Because a lot of my frustration, inner emotional, anger, bitterness, was that I was never comfortable in almost anything I was doing, and that frustrated me. And so I saw that as an avenue that could be a potential frustration to my kids. I could have 5 introverted, not confident children. What am I going to do? So one area of not frustrating our children that was good for me to consider was how to be a more introverted child's support system, not enabling them to stay low in their confidence, but how to be a support system and not just yank that support away and say, you're 4, do this by yourself, get over it. You're 7, do this by yourself, get over it. You're 12, do that by yourself, get over it, etc. Which tends to be a little bit more how our culture is. We push and push and push kids, and we say that that's good for them. And I am not talking about extremely independent kids. That's probably not the department I'm gonna hit at this moment, but I'm gonna suggest that I tried the avenue of not pushing, but always supporting any new activity. I was always present, and I was present for as many times as I felt needed between me and the child before I disappeared and let them do it on their own. I took baby steps, and always, if we started a co-op, when we started a co-op and my youngest was in 4th grade, it was his first time to go to a class outside of the home. And so I went in with him every time, sat in the auditorium for their opening exercises for, every day for the first week. And I sat beside him because that's what he wanted. And he didn't mind that I was the only parent sitting in the 4th grade row. He was like, I've never been anywhere before, and I need to figure out what this is about. And if it doesn't bother him, it was not going to bother me. I felt like that's key to his understanding that I'm his support system. But I'm just saying, I wasn't enabling him. I didn't go with him all year long to 4th grade. I simply sat in opening exercises right beside him 15 minutes for a week. The next week, I sat in the back of the auditorium, and he'd turn around and look at me, and I'd wave. We did that for about 2, maybe 3 days. And then by about 2 weeks, I was able to, let him walk in, and I'd say, hey, I'm going to sit out in the parking lot for, 30 minutes, and then I'm going to come in and just walk the hall if you'd like. Yeah, maybe today, since I'm walking in by myself, if you could walk the hall once and look in the classroom, that's good. Like a baby step for someone who has the tendency to be like his mother, which is, I'm nervous about everything. So over the course of 10, 12 days, we developed, so he was not frustrated. Not something everyone has to do, but I have 5 kids who are all super, just super competent and great with people. And I'm just going to say they're on all different spectrums of levels of that being natural or not. But all of them, I did one single thing to make them not struggle with introversion and nervousness and paranoia and no confidence like I felt like I did. And that was to maintain always a slow, gradual preparation and not frustrating them by pulling out their support system and making them get their comfort level and their sea legs by themselves. It worked well in our house. I'm just going to throw that out as an idea. Everyone has to figure that out for yourself, which is totally, part of parenting. The other thing I think is learning to keep your word. learning to keep your word. I remember I picked out a couple mentors when my kids were little, and one of them gave me some great advice. We used to meet them just sitting in the car, somewhere. We'd run into them often, and my kids were all little, her kids were grown, so they were our mentors. And I'd have these 3, 4, 5 tired, hungry kids. It was always after church or an activity. And the parents would say, we're just going to talk 5 minutes. And then the kids, after 5 minutes, would start to get squirmy and sad and cry and hungry and hit. And finally the mom said, we're mentoring with you. And one of the things we really learned when our kids were young is that if we told them we were only going to take 5 minutes and we talked for 30 minutes until they were beyond able to behave, we frustrated them. And I don't want to do that when we meet with you. If we really want to set time to have a date and talk, let's not do it in a way that makes the kids think they can't ever trust our word, and that we always talk too long to the point of their exhaustion, and then they're in trouble. And then they always think of our time together as couples as not a good reflection, not a good memory to them as kids, because we never honor our word to them. They're hungry, they need to have lunch, they need to have brought some toys. If we're going to talk for 45 minutes, let's let them get out in the grass and play. And it enabled my husband and I to talk as a couple, like, sometimes our kids need to hear us say to other people, hey, we promised our kids that we'd get on the road and get some lunch, and so can we set up a time to visit with you at a different time? And it's not wrong. It's not always over-doting on your kids to actually set a good example of keeping your word, which is, Daddy and I might need 5 minutes to talk, and we need you to sit still. But also be considerate that we're not just exhausting them by never keeping our word. Things to think about. Thanks. Bye.